It's Real Fit Radio with B
and J.LOU.
If this is your first time tuning in to listen, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, welcome back.
Welcome, ladies and gents. We gonna get a real clapper next time, okay?
I'm gonna clap it up every time to bring in that positive energy. It's a vibe. So just checking in. What's going on with you, Lou?
Well, the thing that happened last week for me that was pretty productive was I took myself to school to learn how to deliver better to deliver better podcasts for you guys. So I looked at some YouTube videos to learn how to mix our voices a little better. That way it will be more soothing to the ear. After listening to the last 3 or 4, they're great. But it can always be better, so I wanted to find a way to do that. And hopefully you guys find the difference between the first 4 episodes and the last one we just did. That was the one where I implemented what I learned. Let us know in the comments or, hit us up in the email and let us know if there was like a big difference or you like either or. It don't really matter. Your feedback is welcomed. Also, I don't know how many people that listen to this that are big sports fans, but I was looking at this article, not even an article, it was something on Instagram that I saw that was saying that the NBA are now trying to implement this developmental league. I know they already had the G League for you guys that already know that, but the interesting thing now is it's a league to where they're paying these players to do this developmental league while they're honing their skills because you can't go into the NBA the first year. And I found that interesting being a sports guy because that's going to change the whole dynamics of college sports tremendously. I don't necessarily know how it's going to transition for football right now, but basketball, it's going to get these young cats that's coming out of high school to go straight to these developmental leagues because most of them don't even want to go to college in a sense because they love basketball, but they know that they have to go that first year. But this is going to be interesting because now you're getting paid and you don't necessarily have to go to school for that. The biggest thing about college basketball is that's how they get their name out there. They go to the D1A schools that's going to get them the most notoriety to get them to the league. But now the league is going to pay you. And I'm actually ecstatic for those kids because I know how much money is being made with their names being on those jerseys and all that. And all that money goes to the university. And those guys don't get anything. And as a former athlete, I can kind of resonate with having that opportunity to just go straight to a developmentally, and that's not even saying that they're not going to get an education because they also offered opportunity for them to do that if they wanted to, but basketball is the focal point, and then education if they choose to do that to further it in certain aspects as opposed to vice versa. What about yourself?
That sounds pretty dope because it's always good to have options, and also probably disheartening to see somebody capitalize off of a tool or a gift you work so hard to sharpen. Those athletes work hard, and if they know they're not making any money, but they're out there playing their heart out and bringing all the recognition and money to the university, and it's like, I can't get any of that, and this is what I worked so hard for. So a year, you don't get it at all. So having another option is always good.
Yeah, because based on what I saw, a lot of those guys coming from backgrounds where it's like they can use that extra income, and I know they passed the laws in certain states about athletes being able to exercise their right to make money in the likeness of their name or jerseys or whatever the case may be so they can bring in extra income, but that's not even in every state. So they trying to compete, but I don't know if they're going to be able to compete with the NBA's type of income. And I know that March Madness and all that stuff is going to take a major hit if all the major high school talent decide to forego college and go professional. But yeah, enough about that. How your week been? That was just me reading some stuff, and I thought that was kind of cool. But what happened with you?
Not too much. Kind of like what you said, handling my business, getting as much done as I can. I'm in my CSI bag, so I'm on a binge right now. I started with CSI Miami in the first season, and that's always fun. It's like a cheap vacation. I get to pinpoint the killers, look at them, gather the clues, evidence, all that stuff. All my CSI fans out there, I jump in CSI, New York, CSI Miami, and then I don't even know what the one with Grisham is, but that was the first CSI. I don't know where they were located. Now I haven't tried CSI Los Angeles, but my mom, she hooked me up with a lot of them, so I'm gonna check some of them out. Some of them I've already seen, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. But I just been vegging out. After I finish handling my business, I reward myself through the deep dive, veg out with the movies and stuff like that. I haven't really looked into too many things. Like you said, you read an interesting article. Nothing has really kind of grabbed my attention. It's like repetition. Everybody's kind of figuring out ways to stay positive during the quarantine. If your relationship's suffering, it's just kind of like the same thing. I mean, that part to me, we already covered before, but it's just amazing. I just didn't know. I don't know what people are doing with the people in their house. It's like people are saying they're struggling, but I don't know. I don't understand the struggle because we see each other every day. We spend time with each other. But I mean, it's just something that, I wasn't aware of. But I mean, I'm seeing a lot of that the struggle is real. We're not doing what we normally do. We have restrictions, but I don't know. Like I said, somebody probably come from me and be like, you don't understand. I don't. I mean, I miss the gym and other things like that, but I'm really having a hard time understanding, like, oh my gosh, am I gonna make it with my husband during this time, this quarantine? Because the only thing I can think of is you couldn't go somewhere, so is it like we have to look at each other now? Maybe you were gone a lot. Maybe you had so much going on, or you got to hide under the false guise of being busy and traveling and all that stuff. And now that everything's shut down, you can't say that you're doing that. So now you have to be here with me and vice versa. So now it's like, oh my God, how will we make it? Because we were able to just be so busy all the time. I don't know. I couldn't be that busy where I wasn't spending time with you. And I'm talking about like chunks of time. But it's a different journey for other people. I don't know.
Well, that's an interesting check-in that you just divulged in. We definitely did touch a couple of pieces of that. What was that, last week or the week before? It might have been the week before when we did the deep dive, when we were saying people being stuck in and they not knowing each other. I don't know. It was one of those. You guys know because you tune in every week, but it is interesting, and because I'm finding the same thing in certain areas too, on the memes and all the stuff that I research. Not really research, but some stuff that comes through my timeline where it's like, I'd rather be somewhere else than be around you. And these people have been, in relationships for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years even sometimes. And yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, at what point did you guys not sit down in the first couple of years and think about, like, well, damn, let's spend this first quarter of the 25 years we've been married, or whatever time zone you're in with your marriage. When have you really tried to enjoy each other? Or, and for that matter, before you even got married, when did you even do this? Like, how do you get into a situation where you're in a marriage going on year 15 or something like that, and you finding out now that you don't really want to be around that person? That's something that I don't understand. So,
Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, I will say, I think that you can never know someone fully. I think that you're constantly growing and evolving as a person, and you even learning stuff about yourself, all the time. But heavy statements where it's like, I don't think we can survive this, that's a serious statement to make. But what I'm learning, or kind of just assuming, and it's an assumption, it's my opinion, this must be what it's like when it's an arranged marriage, or it's something that was a good option or was tolerable, because you can tolerate something and have breaks from it. Maybe that's what it was. It's just unfortunate. Again, it's because that's what I have seen so much of, just how am I going to make it through, how relationships survive. I'm hanging in there. And other than us being without immediate access to going to dine out, the entertainment, activities like that, and our regular schedule being interrupted, I understand that part. I don't know. I want to be empathetic and definitely understanding, but I get in recovery mode pretty quick. It's like, okay, we know where we're at. What we're going to do to go ahead and be able to sustain and be productive and be happy. But enough about that, because I think all the memes and everything, and they cover that. That's why I vegged out on this CSI, because there's nothing I want to even read about. Oh, this was interesting. and I think I said this to you. I get emails now because we've gone to the gun range, and it said that there was a law that's temporarily passed where you can purchase ammunition and have it sent to your home without a background check. Wow. Like, I mean, that was crazy to me. I said, really? So it's like limited time. Get it while you can. And I was thinking, no background check? So you can just order bullets and they can come to your home? I read that and I didn't dive too deep in that either. That came straight from the gun range. It showed up in my email and just let me know that that was something that we could do if we wanted to. No background check. So just, yeah, think about that for a minute. But that's it.
Just right after the marriage discussion, we go right into guns. That was a nice transition.
I didn't even mean to do it that way either. That's crazy. I did not mean to do it like that. But I mean,
we are not advocating for you unhappy couples to go purchase bullets.
Well, if they weren't thinking it, would you say that for?
Anyways, it's not that serious, ladies and gents, for whatever the case may be. To piggyback on the weaponry and being able to purchase ammo or the firearm itself without a background check, that's just fucking ludicrous.
Yeah,
like, I don't know why you would even think to do that with all the things that's going on prior to this, or the things that were going on prior to that. You think the best idea for you now is to allow people to just purchase firearms and ammo to their firearms without background checks?
Yeah, and it was just ammo. It wasn't the firearms.
Okay, well, the ammo, regardless of the fact, you still just like, oh, I can buy bullets and not have a background check. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's the way we want to rock it.
Yeah.
So this is probably our world record longest check-in, but it's cool though, because I'll put timestamps so you guys will know where we're going with this stuff. But I did pose a question to myself. I don't know, I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, and I was like, man, with all the people that's earning income and finding like these very innovative ways to create businesses and income for themselves, in this day and age in 2020, is college starting to become more and more obsolete? For you people who are very offensive all the time and misreading or misunderstanding what I'm saying, I did not say education was obsolete. I simply said, is college, the universities, paying tuition and going to go acquire a skill set or the knowledge, is that something that is becoming more and more obsolete for the majority of opportunities that's being presented in this day and time? Now, granted, I understand that doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects, people of specialized skills that require a more in-depth learning, I do understand those people going to college and things of that nature. I'm talking more about the people who go for the theater major or marketing like I did. I graduated with a BA in marketing. The general business majors or anything that's outside those specialized skills that I just named. And I might have missed a few. If you guys want to come in and tell us more about the other specialized majors that I missed out on, feel free to do that. But I'm not talking about those particular people. I'm talking about the ones that was in my tier, lack of better words.
I think I saw an article a while back. This was probably last year, where they said top companies that are not requiring a degree. And I'm sure it's for specific positions within that company, but I remember Apple being one of them. I wish I could get the article. I mean, I just thought about it, but I get exactly what you were saying. Education, I think you're always learning. I think you can always educate yourself, and things are ever changing. Like we talked before about certain words, now they actually are words because of usage. And when I was coming up, it was like that wasn't a word, but now it is a word. So you're constantly educating yourself on new policies, scientific discoveries, all kind of stuff. You know, history's being made every day. I completely understand. I think because of technology and you being able to do a lot of self-taught things, depending on what field you want to go into, college can definitely be obsolete. They have internships, apprenticeships, all kind of stuff. And when I was coming up, it was really funny. I thought it was a trick question. So, and this is where I started getting very confused. So I was in college and I remember I wanted to start kind of getting my feet wet in social services. I went and applied for a couple of positions, and one of the things is, do you have any experience? Well, I start to think even further. I'm thinking, if they're asking this to me now while I'm in school, what would they ask when I've graduated from college? And what if someone didn't tell me to intern or start to get my feet wet? If I just am focused on maintaining this 4.0, if I'm on scholarship, I'm a full-time student, I might not even have time to dedicate to internships or actually getting a part-time job in my field of interest. That question, do you have any experience, is like, are you serious right now? I'm a student. That's all I've been doing. I've been a student all this time. I've been preparing to get this degree. So all I know is what I learned in college in regards to my field of interest, and then my general education. So I always thought that was kind of messed up. Again, I'm not against it, but I'm seeing more and more where people are kind of jumping right into their field of interest and kind of opting out of not attending college full time, or like you said, deferred. I think one of the things we heard recently, and you had to explain it to me, where there were people, because of everything going on, it's like, I'm going to take a year off and then I'll start after. I think it can definitely be something that's considered, but more so because of what we have access to. Unless, like you said earlier, an athlete, there's some things where it's like, it's required that I go. And there's some jobs where it's required that you go.
Absolutely.
But if it's not required, I definitely think you're leaning more towards people not going, because they can kind of go and jump in and get the experience and start making the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just feel like I was sold a pipe dream in a sense when they were saying, go to college, get the degree, and you're going to get this great paying job. Well, when you say that to a student that's coming out of high school, yeah, we want to make our own money and stuff like that. And we're going to go and take the steps that people came before us said that we should do if it looks like it's going to be successful. And then they show you all these pamphlets and all that stuff of successful careers, et cetera, et cetera. But what you come to find out, or I'll just speak on my experience, what I come to find out is, one, I wish somebody would have told me more about internships if you do choose to go. Because like you said, I think every college student, not every, that's a wrong choice of words, but I'll say most of us that came out after our first year of graduating got bombarded with that same message that you just said a moment ago about, do you have experience? And we was baffled, because it's like, we just spent 4.5, maybe 5 years earning this degree so we can come into this field, only for you to hire somebody with no degree that had the experience to take the spot that you told us we needed a degree for. So it's quite confusing. But looking at this day and age, I've seen so many different entrepreneurs, and I'm talking about kid entrepreneurs. You introduced me to one, maybe a month ago, where they were selling t-shirts and took their lunch money and created a brand or whatnot and just pushed the hell out that brand and retired their mom. It's like, this kid ain't even 15, 16 years old, and he's bringing in more income than most 20-year-olds right now. And he's doing what he loved to do. And he didn't step one foot into a college. And again, I'm not speaking down on college. I just want people to understand, and I'm speaking more towards the young people. Obviously, you got to do what's best for you. But I'll say the advice in terms of myself, if I can do it all over again, I probably would have taken a year off to see exactly what it is that I enjoy doing. Dibble and dabble in a couple of jobs. Go to maybe a trade school or something like that. Because most times when we go to college, we don't really necessarily know what we love to do. Like, it's a great thing when you know as a person what you're here to do, what's your purpose to do, what your passion is before you even hit college. Because you have, a sharper mind, like, okay, I know what I need to do, or what I could do in order to get from point A to point B. But when you're somebody like such as myself, I mean, I would like to think that I had quite a few talents, whatnot, whether it was intellectual or physical. I didn't know which area to go in. So I went to college in hopes that it would help me figure that out. But now you guys know that I'm a songwriter and stuff, and I just laugh at myself. Like, I learned more outside of the classroom in a sense of what I did in it, lack of better words, and that's no disrespect to my professors because I think they did a wonderful job. But I laugh because going back to that young kid that you told me about, I don't remember his name, but the marketing structures, the plans that he put in place, that's all what I got taught in the university. And this 13-year-old or however old he was, this kid knew all that before he even touched a college campus. So it hits you a different way when you feel like, dang, man, I paid money for this information and he just got it. You know, whether it was looking at Instagram and seeing how people post or whatever the case may be. Because even with what we learn, some of that stuff is starting to be a bit outdated because of how people are generating their business now. So again, this is not a bash college, but I do, in my opinion, I just feel like it's a business now. I mean, because they know a great deal of us don't have to go, but it's kind of like that programming from, even if it's your household. I know in the South it's big, like going to high school, graduating and going to get an education at a university and getting a degree, mainly because it's like, well, we didn't get one, you'll be the first one to get one and all that type of stuff. But if you don't need that to get your money, I mean, what's wrong with not going? That's kind of my take on it.
Well, I think to each his own. I think that college should be an option, and it's just that, an option. It's not a requirement, because I think some people need it. They need the structure. They need the extra time to kind of get an idea of what they want to do, and they've been acclimated to that just from the other 12 years of going to school. Just like a lot of kids straight out of school, like, I'm going to the military, they know it. Somebody else might say, well, you don't even know yet. You know, you didn't give yourself time. I think it's just always good to have the options. You just find for some people, they'll understand because it's an option and not a requirement that I don't need that for what I'm going to do. They just need to kind of do a little more research, get more information, and a better understanding, because I called it the 13th grade because it was pushed so heavily sometimes. It's almost like you hear it in the schools and everything, and it's like, we need to get a better understanding of if it's a good fit for this person. I don't want to just herd everybody there, because that's just what a great majority have done. Because you get your degree, it's not guaranteed you're going to get the job that's attached to the degree you went to school for. And also you have, student loans and things like that. So you coming out and you in debt and you trying to find a job and stuff like that. So there's so many other things. I just think that instead of just selling the dream or the cookie cutter, this is the next step, it should be, these are your options. Let's see what would be a good fit for you. So when you said if it's becoming obsolete, I just think people are getting more information and understanding that they have an option, because that's the worst, when you feel like you're supposed to do something. Everybody is going to look at me differently if I don't do this, or nobody else did it, so I have to. It's not about that. It's about what works best for you. What's going to make you happy, and what will you excel at the most? Like, what is going to be the defining factor and what brings to fruition what I want to do? Is college going to define or assist me with doing what I really want to do? If it's not, then, you need to be comfortable and bold in saying, this is not what I want to do. But sometimes it's not that easy, because you don't want to disappoint people. You don't want to be that oddball out or the outlier, like, I'm going this way. So obsolete, no. More information and options, yes.
Fair enough. I do understand where you're coming from, where the curriculum is not suited for every individual. I like to think of it as, I don't know if it was in a movie that you guys saw. Wasn't it The Divergent or something that kind of alluded to this, where they find out what that kid's special skill set was?
They were pretty much born into it.
Yeah, once they found out what that kid's skill set was, they put them where their specialty was so that they can train really hard in that thing that they were really, really good at. I think that's an interesting way of education too, in a sense of where, you get the fundamental stuff that everybody should know. So that way you're not just kind of like aloof in those areas. But I think each individual has a special gift that their aptitude is very high in. And once you find out what that is, I think maybe perhaps should feed that more and then see how that works out, because nobody who is good is getting paid what the wealthy is getting paid. You're great at something when you're wealthy, no matter what it is. It's not a specific industry or a specific skill set. It's whatever it is that you become great at. I think your wealth can be amassed through you being great at whatever your skill set is. So I'm just adding to what you just said. Again, these are all opinionated thoughts, but they're well thought out thoughts. They're not just something that we're just blowing out just to be talking. But yeah, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? It don't necessarily have to be that. We can go into something else.
No, I mean, I think that was good what you were talking about. What was the next thing? It was your turn.
So this next line of discussion here is with married people or people who've been in a relationship a long period of time. How do you keep the fire lit, or how do you keep the interest going? Like with people being in the same household, and it's not necessarily talking about the same thing pertaining to the check-in, because those people didn't know one another. We're talking about the people who were friends and they are in love with one another or whatnot, and they're on year 5, 6, 7, and it's just one of those phases. And I believe every marriage, every relationship, if you're not married and you've been there 4 or 5 years, it's beyond the point of what's your favorite color, what you like to eat, pick your perfect date. We're beyond that now. So how do you woo your spouse after knowing pretty much everything you needed to know in order to get them? And I know this, you got to do the same thing to keep them that you did in the earlier time, but that's easier said than done. So how do you keep that fire as an explosion as opposed to some candlelit fire?
What I've learned in marriage is take the wow factor out of it. I think that sometimes you get so busy on trying to just like outdo yourself every single time, and the level of expectation, what the reaction you're going to get or how this is going to pan out when you do this, it can really be a bummer if it doesn't. So what I've learned is just trying to be better. One of my goals with you, and I've said this with you, is I want you to love me more as we grow older than when you did when we first got together. And it's work, but I think it really becomes a selfless act. I think you already know you're going to take care of yourself. Some people say I lost who I was because I got so caught up in pleasing you. I just think that self-care, I say this always, is the best care. Like on an airplane, I can't give anything to you if I'm on E. I gotta, the air mask, they even tell you to put it on yourself first before you put it on the other person. So if you are depleted, you can't give to the person anyway. But I think just studying and getting a better understanding of who you're with and making sure that you're caring for them in a way that assists them in growing. Sometimes I think, again, we get caught up in, if I do this, then this is going to happen. I saw this here. If I implement this in my marriage, it's bound to work. That may not be, what works for that individual. Who are you dealing with? You got to know your player. You got to know your helpmate. You got to know who they are. And I think sometimes it's like, again, that cookie cutter thing I've seen on movies, and they say art imitates life, where you see these groups of women together or men together, and it's like, how they are, how they do, or, even I've watched stand-up comedy, and you and I have both watched it where we're laughing about it, where they say, women talk. We don't want to hear that. And we don't. And again, our relationship is not perfect by far, but some of that stuff we're looking at like, it's funny, but those are not things that we encounter because I know you and you know me. Like, we understand giving a person space, and sometimes it's not about a give and take. This is just what this person is going to need today. It ain't about me today. Then I also know when I need to be vocal when I say this is something that I need, and what capacity can you give it to me? Because you may not be able to give it. It may require both of us working together for me to get the need met. But if you can give me this part of it, that's going to assist me with getting this other part done. If that makes sense. I just think the first thing you can do is take the part out of saying, ooh, I'm going to keep it fresh. Ooh, I'm going to put this and I'm going to do that. It's like, no, you have to understand the more that you're together, there will be routine that sets in, but you need to know who you're dealing with. And when you know who you're dealing with, you'll understand different little things that you can implement through care and understanding and nurturing and other fun things. That's how I keep it fresh with you. That's how I intend to move forward. Now, there's some stuff I see some people, physical stuff is going to get old anyway. I just think that's a mental commitment. And that's a whole nother topic, because you looking at the same body every day. It's beautiful people in the world. I would be lying if I said that I didn't see other attractive men out there. It doesn't take away from who I'm with. There's just more attractive men in the world. But then that's when it's like, you start comparing. Well, this person looks like this. I like that about him. And then that's where it's like, if you got to have it, or it's the lust factor, I just can't be with one person. That's a whole nother thing. Like, I feel like that depends on the individual and their relationship. If they doing something where we're committed to each other. I see a lot of stuff now that I've never seen before, where it's open relationships. I forget what that one thing is calling, where it's a group of people dating.
I believe.
Yeah, you're dating multiple people, and you guys are all in agreement. And then it was this term they use where they go like hunting. I'm saying hunting because and they're looking for someone to join their group, and they agree on it. And I don't know if that's just sexually, but that's too much for me. A relationship is already a lot, and it can get complicated. I don't need to add nobody else to the equation. And that's just me. Dealing with a whole nother individual is a lot. Understanding them, choosing to be committed, and assisting, and just all the other things that come with it. Why do I want to do that with 3-4 other people? I'm not knocking nobody that wants to, but I think that sometimes if somebody kept giving a child food over and over, like how you see if we keep feeding them, they'll just keep eating. Personally, it's my opinion. That's a whole greed thing that sets in. But that's just me. Somebody else, I'm sure, is locked and loaded and ready to argue me down about that. But it's a preference, not mine, but it is a preference. But those are my thoughts on, what I'm saying, keeping it fresh. Somebody else, I'm keeping it tight. I'm keeping my body, together and all that stuff. But if that's the case, if that's all it took, I wouldn't see so many people having a bunch of issues, and they're gorgeous. I mean, they look great. Their bodies look good, men and women. So it's so much more to it, And I think the first thing, like I said, is understanding who you with and committing to putting some work into it, and if that makes sense.
Well, all right.
Or maybe I was talking in circles.
Got the perspective from the missus.
Did it sound like I was talking in circles?
She touched the bases.
What are you doing?
She touched the bases. I'm joking. Man. I'm joking. Yeah, no, you wasn't talking in circles. I got everything you said. Sometimes but even if you didn't get it the first time, that's why it's called a podcast. You can run it back. You can listen to it again. It's like bars. You may not get it the first time, so you got to listen to it again. But I'll say it differently from a male perspective, because even if you're saying the same thing, sometimes people may not get it like that. You done told me something, and then somebody said exactly what you said to me, and I was like, B, guess what? I heard this, that, and the other, and man, I'm just amazing. You looking at me crazy like, I just told you this like 3 months ago. Oh, well, as long as you get it. So from the male perspective, my take on it is the way you guys continue this butane flame and not no big flame is development and growth. Development and growth, man. It honestly, for me, it's that simple. I like to think of it as in terms of the friendship. And I know we always talk about friendship. We've said this before, where it's like the biggest mistake people make when they get in relationships is they don't develop a friendship. Well, when you have that friendship, just like any basic friendship, whether it's girl friendship, guy friendship, whatever, as you're going through these ages and you're getting older, your friend and you should be getting better. So if one of you guys is growing in this relationship, this marriage that you're in, this voyage, and one person is like, all right, we're married, boom, and then they just kind of stop, and whatever it is that they're doing, it may work the first 1 to 3 years, maybe even 5 years, but if your spouse, albeit male or female, the opposite one, is continuously growing their character traits, growing how they compromise with you, growing on being healthy, whatever it is, they're continuing to elevate themselves, and you're just doing the same thing that got you in the door. At some point, you're going to run into this issue where one is going to feel like the thrill is gone. As BB King said it, the thrill is gone. So the way you keep the thrill from, in my opinion, is both of you guys need to be growing and developing simultaneously. It may be some things that she grows in or he grows in that's a little quicker or whatnot, and then vice versa is some other areas. But as both of you are elevating, it's a win-win for both people because it'll never get boring. You're going to always have something new and invigorating to keep it going. You'll be motivated, and you guys will never get so tired of each other to the point where it's like, man, I don't even know how we gonna make it through this corona time. Like, you won't have that issue. I'm not saying you won't have problems. I'm just saying I've never really seen it to where if I'm getting better and you're getting better, we'll have everlasting issues. Again, I don't want you guys to be mistaken as it's no issues. There are going to be bumping heads there. There are going to be disagreements, stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, I believe that your marriage or your relationship will be able to flourish beyond what you even imagine it. All you got to do is just keep growing each other, keep developing, and grow yourself. Both you guys, grow yourselves. And then whatever you get in your individual growth, bring that shit to the table, and it's going to help you. But like I said, I find that a lot of people, it's always one person growing and the other person is not, or both of y'all not, and then y'all both tired of each other because neither one of y'all growing, and that's where you want to look for something new because it's like nobody is helping the other person. And that's where I think that physical thing comes into play, because if you like solely focused on the physical realms of it, you would never be happy in a relationship you in, because let's just face it, just like she said, man, I can go on IG and click a search engine or a hashtag and find a million other females, and it's not that one looks better than the other. It just goes to B's point about it's a million other attractive people in this world that you can be entertaining. But I don't care how many fucking attractive people it is in the world, because once you get with them, if you having the same issue where they don't want to grow, you don't want to grow, or they growing and you don't, you gonna run into that same brick wall over and over again. So why not take the person that you fell in love with the first time and you guys grow each other and just see how much better you look a decade from now? And I'm not just talking about physical, but if you want to throw physical in there, you get better with age. I don't know where this whole facade is where, because you getting older, you supposed to just let yourself go or whatever the case may be. Like, that's what I'm saying about development, like help each other elevate to the next level, whether it's health, exercise, whether it's feeding the mind, whatever the case may be. Lack of better words, self-development, and bring what you got on your own to the table and help that person that you with grow.
I think if you communicate and agree on the level of commitment, if I say we're going to eat this bag of Doritos and fall apart together, you might not be committed to that. You know what I'm saying? You may not be in agreement with that, and you communicate it, and then we know now this is not the level of commitment. You know what I mean? Right. So I think that sometimes you can get into something and the level of commitment is not communicated. Like, I like this part of you, but I don't like that part of you. And I want to commit to this part of you, but not fully commit to that part,
Yeah, Greg, find a common ground.
Right. But it has to be, communication is key to everything, whether you're communicating how happy you are, we're not seeing eye to eye. You got to communicate. And once stuff is all out on the table, then you start kind of figuring out where you're going from there, what level of commitment you're willing to put into getting this right, or I'm just not willing to commit to this. But I think what happens is when you say one person's growing, other one is not, and so on and so forth. I wanted to say the Marines say it a lot. I've seen it with them, but I don't know if it's theirs, but no man left behind. I think if in marriage you kind of put that in there, I think it'd be a whole lot better, because I think sometimes people get left behind and don't even know it. You see on movies where I fell out of love with you a long time ago, or when you did this to me, or whatever it is. I think that you got to know you left them behind. You know what's happening with you, but you didn't inform the other person. If you're feeling this way, and I've seen that so many times, like art imitates life, where you hear it, like, I didn't even know you felt like this. I didn't even know you were doing this. Or when did you do, when did this happen? you left somebody behind. With the no man left behind, that means as I move, you move. When I move, you move. Just like that. And that's why I said that communication, I say it to you all the time, even at the beginning of this podcast. That's something that happens without this podcast. When you come in, it's like, what's going on? You know, how you feeling? Even when you leave the house, you know, if I leave the house, we haven't seen each other, we constantly checking in with each other because stuff is happening all the time. And sometimes people are just dealing with it and they're not letting you know it happened. And you got to kind of have your spidey sense on. I'll look at you sometimes and just like, I need to check in with this guy. And even if you say, oh, I'm good, and I still spidey sense still tingling, I'll circle back. Because my number one priority is making sure that my partner, we moving together. You ever see in the movies where the person was with them and they got wounded and then you find out, oh, dang, he been leaking this whole time and he dies, right? And I think you got to do a self-check. You got to go check on each other too. It's work. It's no joke. It's work. You got a lot of things going on, but it's that level of commitment. It's like I checked out when, you didn't look like so-and-so anymore. I checked out when you stopped being the way it was when we first met. I checked out. It's like you can't just check out like that. I need to inform you. I need to effectively communicate what's going on. And I need to actually always want to know what's going on with you. And I think that happens too. People really don't want to know what's going on with the other person. It's like I'm tolerating this, but I don't really want to know what's going on with you. I'm going through the motions, but I always say, "How you doing?" And it's like I really don't want to know, but I know that's the thing to ask.
There's a lot of people who say that in hopes that you mask how you really feel.
Or how about I'm not even really listening? You act like we see comedians say it. They laugh. I've seen it more comedians say it about women. You ask, oh, you don't want to hear all that, and you've checked out. So how you really connected if you're not even listening to what's being communicated to you? And even if it is some crap, you have every right to say at the end of that sounds like a lot of drama. That sounds like a lot of stuff you don't even do wrapping your mind around. Oh, so that's the BS you was faced with today? You're entitled to that opinion, but you listen, you showed up, and that's what you do when you care and you committed.
Lack of better words, men out here in the world, active listening is what you need to be doing. I know when White Man Can't Jump in, when Sydney was telling Billy, there's a difference between listening to Jimmy and hearing Jimmy. So listen to Jimmy, men. Don't just hear Jimmy. I know some of y'all like, what that mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know the reference to White Man Can't Jump, but it's somebody out there that does.
It's somebody that trust me.
Yeah, no, I know.
Listen to the woman. Don't hear her. There's a difference between hearing and listening.
And I want
active listening.
I want to say something too, because I hate when I hear this, and I know you didn't say that. I don't like when I hear a happy wife is a happy life. Just make sure the woman's happy. Just make sure. That creed. I know that, but I've heard of that a lot in comedy. I've seen it in movies, or you see series like, don't start no problem. It's going to be a problem with her. It's like, we're all humans. We're all humans at the end of the day. I'm a woman. That's a man. We do have some other things going on, our makeup and stuff, but I'm human. That is so one-sided. So as long as I'm happy, everything is good. But if I'm not happy, everything stops. I would not want to be a man and feel like that. I mean, I just think that's horrible. That's another thing I'm not subscribing to. And I would think because it's so heavily pushed, that's one of the things about keeping it fresh too. That's why I said you got to throw some of that stuff out the window. What about if he's not happy? If that's how it was pushed, where as long as I'm happy, it's good. As a man, I'd be out the door. If I felt like, well, I got to subscribe to this, this is what it is. As long as she happy, that's what matters. Baby's happy, we gonna be all right. No, what about the other person that's in this relationship? So I think it's equal. I think that you need to be equally vested in it. And again, you got to come to the table and communicate that you're committed and the level of commitment that you're willing to put. It's like, we're gonna do this, we're doing that. No, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And as time goes on in relationships, there's new stuff that comes up where you got to go right back. It's like, repeat. Okay, I'm not committing to that. I don't like this right here that's happening with us. But this right here, okay, you know what? We can meet in the middle here. There's some compromise. And I think that's an ever ongoing cycle. It never ends. It's a constant. If that's not happening all the time, if it's like, oh no, we have a regular routine, and there are some routines that work, but I think that there are new things that are happening, and they're the check-ins that are happening, and you growing and figuring things out together, and you hitting some bumps in the road, and some stuff will kind of knock you guys off your feet and stuff like that. That's what I feel like is always happening with us.
Well, there you have it. I don't have nothing to add to that because we'll just be talking and talking and talking. So no, I made my point about it, and I think you made some great points as well. But I would just be reiterating what you're saying, and I know people out there got what you were referring
to. I think so too. I really do. Well, you got some good takeaways for college, keeping the relationship fresh. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, you just want to reach out and communicate with us, maybe there's a topic you like for us to discuss. I was trying to discuss. You can always email us at realfitradio@gmail.com. Our podcast drops every Monday. You can always catch a snippet of it at our Instagram at realfitradio. If you're not following us, you should be. I drop a midweek rant every Wednesday, and that's much shorter than the podcast. We'll peek into my psyche. As always, we hope that we've inspired, impacted, or empowered someone. Until next time.